What's up guys, it's Talha here again today, and today we are going to discuss what are constructors in C++. So let's get started. So constructors, we studied about the constructors today in the programming class. Let me just widen the screen a little bit so you guys can see clearer. So let's first start our program. So you're going to write using namespace std to create a namespace, so we don't have to write std over and over again. Now let's so class, so you also let's first make a class. So whenever you make a class, you always make it above the function main. So you make a class. Let's say that the class is student, and also as a convention you keep the first alphabet of the word capital when you are whenever you are declaring the class. So class of student, and then you you put the opening curly brace and then the closing brace, and then you write the word public. So that means that this code is accessible, or this class, the member functions or the states of this class will be accessible anywhere in the program. So public colon. Now let's create the states. For example, let's create the states of an object. So what can be the states of the object student? The states of the object student can be the name. So let's say that so we declare the string name. It can be his address, and int can be his roll number. So if he's a student, he will have a roll number, and let's say he okay, so roll number is, I think, is enough. So these three are going to be the states of this student. Now let's create the member function. So in before, what we used to do, we used to create a member function which was supposed to set the values for every, which was supposed to set the initialize the variables to a specific value. So we use the function set value, but here we are going to use constructors. So what is a constructor? Constructor is basically what it does is it constructs the values for your variables, for your objects. So uh, let's create, and the good thing about the constructor is that its name is the same as your class name. So we say student. So this, and this constructor is a function, so it doesn't have a return type. So we say student, and then the opening and closing curly brace. So here, as you can see, that it's a function. Student is a function, and this is a constructor function. There are two types of constructors. One is a default constructor, and one is a parametric constructor. So you can pass the parameters in a constructor, and you can also leave it empty, so there will be a default, and that will initialize every value to 0. And in every class there's a default constructor which initializes every value to 0, but it's not visible, but it is on the background. And the compiler always creates a constructor with your class, with every class. So here we created the student class, the student function, that is the constructor function. And now uh, so we are going to pass some parameters. Let's say we pass int a, no sorry, the string a. So that will, that so same, so we are, so there's a one-to-one correspondence. We are trying to be in a sequence right here. So string a, string b, and int x. So these three will be the parameters for the constructor function. Let's say that name will be equal to your a, and address will be equal to your b, and roll number role will be equal to x. So right here we have set the values, or we have initialized the values of the object, of the states of the object right here, and we did this by using the constructor function, using a parametric constructor function. Now let's let's create a function to print these values, or to output the values, all the values. So let's say that we make a function. So right here now we need a return type. The constructor function is the only function where you don't need a return type. So void get info, or show, let's say void show info, and so this is a function and it doesn't need any parameters, so it will show, so cout it will show the name, cout will show the name, and it will show the address, and it will show the roll number. So these were the, and you can also define a function outside the class, but I'm just declaring inside. So now what you do is let's say that you want to, so what you do, in order to access the class, you first write the class name in order to make objects. Now what you're going to do is, so this is a class student, and now what you want to do is create an object of the class student. So student, let's say s1. So we created what error is it giving me? Alright, so student s1. Now what is saying that no matching constructor for initialization of student. So here we also, so whenever in a constructor case, whenever you make an object, so you cannot describe, you cannot access, or you cannot use the constructor function explicitly. You always have to use it implicitly. So implicit means that whenever you will create an object, you will have to pass the parameters, or you'll have to use the function while creating the object. So when so here s1, and now I have to pass the parameters as well, because now I'll have to access this constructor function. So let's say that I pass the parameters. So first I think I've got to let's say I pass the parameters. S1 string is so I just pass talha as a first string. Now I pass name, and address is, let's say, Peshawar, and not, let's say I actually am from Peshawar. And third we are going to put the roll number, so 22. So this right here is this right here initialize the values of our variables, and now what we are going to do is to print the values, and to print the values we have to use s1 dot show info, just like that. So what the constructor thing did for us, that it saved us a step. So in like before we wrote set info, and then we had to write an extra step, but right here the benefit you get is that you have to, whenever you create an object, you call the function is called automatically, and if you have the parameters, you have to pass the parameters. If you don't, the function is just called as default. So let's run this program and let's see if it works. So here, as you can see, it is working perfectly. It's showing the name, it's showing the address, and then it is showing the roll number. So that is how a constructor works, and in the next lectures I'll explain different types of constructors, and what's the main benefit, and where you should use them, and what is its benefit over the normal way of programming. And they're very useful concept in classes, the constructors, because every program has its own constructors, and there are many different types of many different types of them. So we'll discuss them in later lectures. Till then, goodbye.